Good evening, and welcome to CK News Report. My name is Christopher Kruger, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Today we would like to introduce you to a very interesting subject concerning a merger and an acquisition. The merger we're focusing on today is Exxon and Mobil. Merging companies means combining of two or more companies, generally by offering the stockholders of one company securities in the acquiring company in exchange for the surrender of their stock. So positively, it gives Exxon and Mobil a greater income and better equipment to do their job. Both of these companies originate from the USA. Exxon was originally known as Standard Oil Company, which started in 1870, while Mobil was known as Mobil Oil Corporation. One of the reasons the two companies merged was due to around in the 1970s, all oil companies wanted to go into Saudi Arabia as they had a lot of oil. But the problem was Saudi Arabia only accepted the oil companies who would be willing to pay the most amount of money. Also, oil companies explored the Gulf of Mexico, Africa, and Asia. Exxon and Mobil merged on November 30th, 1998. The motives they had for this was the price per gallon of oil would decrease over the next few years, so the bigger the company, the better. Also, as mentioned, as all the companies were going to Saudi Arabia, they merged as they would be able to give more money, which would allow them to come in and dig for oil or look for oil. And also, it gives them a more stable cash flow balance to do long-term investments.
Prime. If we could see energy, what would we see? The billions of gallons of fuel that get us to work. We'd see all the electricity flowing through the devices that connect us and teach us. We'd see that almost 100% of medical plastics are made from oil and natural gas. And an industry that supports almost 10 million American jobs. Life takes energy, and no one applies more technology to produce American energy and refine it more efficiently than ExxonMobil. Because using energy responsibly has never been more important. Energy lives here.
These outcomes are seen from a commercial point of view. Other outcomes they got from merging was becoming one of the biggest oil companies in the world, which now has a revenue of $203 billion. They have large energy reserves larger than Canada's, and they make around sales up to $460 billion. This is all we have for you on our merger today, and now we'll be focusing on the acquisition. Now, to our second story, an acquisition between Tata, an Indian automotive manufacturing company, Jaguar, and Land Rover, two car companies. What happens when companies make an acquisition is the process of acquiring a company to build on strengths or weaknesses of the acquiring company. A merger is still similar to an acquisition, but refers more strictly to combining all of the interest of both companies into a stronger single company. This may seem like a wise choice, but there are factors which limits this topic. The costs are very high, and also a lot of financial fallout takes place. Now we'll have a brief background on all of these companies. Jaguar and Land Rover were acquired by Ford Motor Company in 1989. Both Jaguar and Ford were UK companies were thus acquiring by a US company. It sort of gave them like two different cultural aspects, which potentially had downsides due to the cultural aspects. What happened was that Jaguar generated significant losses, and at the same time, Ford invested heavily in the new model development. These factors were quite cash demanding for Ford.
So here's a look at what Tata gets in this entire deal. First of all, 3 manufacturing plants across Europe, which will now be reflected on their books. Secondly, it brings tremendous mileage, gives them great growth opportunity in the international automobile market. And don't forget that the assembly plant that they plan to set up locally will help Tata Motors reduce cost over a period of time. All of this for about $2.3 billion, with the promise that the Tatas will retain the 13,500 employees at Ford and also sign an engine supply deal with the company for the next 5 years. For Ratan Tata, who's so very passionate about Tata Motors and has spent a considerable amount of his personal time on the company, this acquisition means a lot to him. Perhaps it's as big as the last concluded Chorus deal worth $13 billion. But then there have been critics who have wondered for why an Indian company that makes trucks and cars for the masses, what should such a company be doing with premium brands like the Jaguar and Land Rover? But the criticism hasn't deterred Ratan Tata. Through this acquisition, he once again wants to display his ambitions to create a global automobile major through innovations and acquisitions, and is here for everyone to see. Harishri Mehta for Times Now.
As we've just seen, this acquisition had a good development for Tata, as they are now a very large private conglomerate in India, which had a track record of investing in the UK. At that time, Tata was India's third large car maker, but with very cheap brands. The image was poor, and Tata was facing increasing raw material costs. The deal was in early 2008. Tata acquired Jaguar and Land Rover from Ford for $1 billion US. The motives they had for Tata's acquisition was the revenue synergies. Tata would get an opportunity to boost revenue, also via now greater international distribution. The offerings to the market became larger, and hence Tata would target a broader range of consumer segments, the value for money cars and luxury cars. Tata would acquire better consumer service skills, acquisitions of knowledge, which Tata could roll out in transfer to their organization. Everyone probably knows Jaguar and Land Rover are very high quality cars, excellent service, and it probably speaks for itself that JLR had a very high standard for their energy services. The level of competences and skills in JLR would immediately boost Tata's existing energy services. A larger car business would also enable the potential for scale synergies between Tata Steel business and motoring business. The outcomes between this acquisition was, even though the timing of the acquisition at the beginning of the financial crisis in 2008 was not optimal, Tata managed to capitalize from the deal and create shareholder value. They did this by the new product development. Tata Steel business developed the new lightweight steel alloys for JLR, which now drive down costs. The increasing demand for the BRIC countries, China, Russia, India. Tata has managed to get a good foot into the Chinese market now. After Tata acquired JLR, it was transferred from a substantial net loss position in 2009 into a sizable net profit position since 2011, where JLR has generated billions of pounds net profit. Likewise, number of employees has increased by at least 9,000. As of now, the two cultures seems to work in harmony. Thank you, and this was CK News Report.